Imagine this. It's 7 p.m. on a Friday. You've just dragged yourself home after a 12-hour day at the office. You volunteered for yet another project because your boss looked stressed. Your phone buzzes, your buddy needs a last-minute ride to the airport. Before you can even catch your breath, your wife texts about picking up the kids from soccer because she's stuck at work. And then your aging father calls, hinting that he could use help fixing the leaky faucet this weekend. What do you say? Feel like millions of men out there? The word yes slips out before you can stop it. You're the guy who can't say no. The reliable one. The rock. But deep down, you're crumbling. Here's a surprising fact to hit you right in the gut. According to recent psychological research, chronic people pleasers, those who habitually put others' needs first, experience up to 30% higher cortisol levels, the stress hormone that silently erodes your health over time. This isn't just burnout. It's a recipe for heart disease, anxiety disorders, and a life half-lived. And while people-pleasing affects everyone, for men, it's often amplified by a toxic cocktail of societal expectations. Be the provider. Be the hero. Never show weakness. But what if I told you that the man who's queuing to say no is unweak at all? He's wired that way by evolution, upbringing, and a brain that's screaming for approval louder than it is for rest. Because in a world that glorifies hustle and hides vulnerability, understanding this could be the key to reclaiming your time, your energy, and ultimately, your sanity. Gentlemen, anyone who has ever loved one, have you ever caught yourself nodding along to a request that lights your soul on fire with dread? What if saying no wasn't selfish, but the most courageous act you could muster? This isn't just armchair philosophy. It's a blend of cutting-edge psychology and timeless wisdom that could change how you show up in your relationships, your career, and your mirror. Stick around as we explore the roots, the wreckage, and the road to recovery. Because the man who learns to say no is not just surviving, he's thriving. Let us start at the beginning. What exactly is the psychology behind a man who could unsay no? At its core, this is people-pleasing behavior pattern where an individual's primary drive is to secure approval, avoid conflict, and maintain harmony at any cost. Men with anxious attachment styles, often stemming from inconsistent parenting, where love felt conditional on performance, develop a deep-seated fear of abandonment. Picture little Timmy, whose dad only praised him after acing a soccer game or fixing the garage light. Fast forward to adulthood. And Timmy now, Tom, the accountant, says yes to every overtime shift because deep down, he equates no with rejection. Research shows that anxiously attached individuals are 40% more likely to engage in people-pleasing to keep the peace, even if it means sacrificing their own boundaries. But it's not just childhood ghosts. Trauma plays a starring role too. Enter the fawn response, a lesser-known sibling to fight, flight, and freeze. Coined by therapist Pete Walker, fawning is a survival strategy where, in the face of threat, you appease the aggressor to de-escalate danger. For men who've experienced abuse, bullying, even subtle emotional neglect, like a father who modeled Stoic self-sacrifice, this response hardwires yes as safety. A 2023 study linked fawning directly to childhood sexual abuse survivors. Tamed, but it extends to any man who's learned that rocking the boat invites storms. Neurologically, it's fascinating. Saying no triggers the amygdala at the brain. It's fear, center releasing a flood of adrenaline that feels eerily like betrayal. Meanwhile, a quick yes lights up the reward centers with dopamine, that sweet hit of approval. Now, layer on gender norms, and you've got a perfect storm. Society tells men, be strong, provide, protect. But in the shadows, there's an unspoken addendum, and never complain. This breeds what psychologists call emotional suppression, where men internalize vulnerability as failure. Okay? A man who can't say no isn't just nice. He's performing masculinity through self-erasure. Think of it as the flip side of toxic masculinity, not aggression, but acquiescence. Data from the American Psychological Association reveals that men report 25% higher rates of work-related burnout tied to overcommitment, often because they fear no signals weakness. To bring this to life, let's meet Alex. Alex is 42, a mid-level manager in tech, married with 2 kids. By all accounts, he's the golden boy, coaches Little League, fixes neighbors' cars on weekends, and covers for colleagues who ghost deadlines. But Alex's calendar is a war zone, back-to-back Zooms, bleeding into family dinners, sleep snatched in stolen hours. One Tuesday, his boss drops a bombshell. We need you on this client pitch. Starts tomorrow. Alex's gut screams no. He's already juggling a sick kid and a looming home repair. But the words stick. Absolutely. I got it. By Friday, he's in the ER with chest pains. Caught a heart attack, thank God, but severe anxiety manifesting physically. Alex's story isn't unique. It's echoed in countless therapy rooms. As one Reddit user shared in a viral thread, I'm the sole provider, always saying yes to extra shifts, neglecting my health. My marriage is killing me slowly. Shifting gears to philosophy, where does ancient wisdom intersect with modern minds? Enter Stoicism, the Roman school of thought, from Marcus Aurelius to Epictetus, which champions radical self-mastery. The Stoics didn't tiptoe around no. They wielded it like a sword. Epictetus taught that true freedom lies in distinguishing what you control, your responses, from what you don't, others' demands. The man trapped in yes-man mode. This is revolutionary. Saying no isn't rejection. It's alignment with your virtues. Aurelius journaled, reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears. Imagine applying that to Alex declining the pitch, not out of spite, but to honor his duty to self and family. Stoicism reframes people-pleasing as a vice of externals, where we outsource our worth to applause. But let's not stop at theory. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, offers practical tools. Aaron Beck's CBT model views people-pleasing as distorted thinking. The core belief, if I say no, they'll hate me, fuels automatic yeses. Therapists challenge this with exposure. Start small, like no, I can't grab coffee, Thursday rain check. Track the outcome. Spoiler, the world doesn't end. Over time, it rewires the brain, reducing that amygdala hijack. Another angle, evolutionary psychology. Some theorists argue our ancestors survived by tribal loyalties. Saying no could mean exile from the group, death sentence in hunter-gatherer days. Today, that translates to office politics or friend groups, where no risks, isolation. Yet, in our hyper-connected era, this wiring backfires, turning men into emotional sponges. Consider historical anecdotes for flavor. Take Charles Dickens, the Victorian novelist whose relentless yes to publishers, socialites, and family obligations led to a nervous breakdown at 45. Dickens churned out novels while hosting lavish parties, all to maintain his image as the affable genius. His letters revealed the toll. I am dreadfully knocked up. Or closer to home, think of the sandwich generation dad, squeezed between aging parents and young kids, nodding to every elder care call and school bake sale. A case study from a 2024 therapy journal describes Mark, 38-year-old engineer whose inability to delegate at work stemmed from a childhood of being the fixer for his single mom as endless crises. Mark's breakthrough, simple Stoic exercise, daily journaling of one no and its rationale. Within months, his resentment evaporated, replaced by authentic connections. Philosophically, Nietzsche adds edge. He scorned the herd mentality, where men slave for approval, losing their Burmensch potential. The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe, he wrote. For our yes men, this is a call to authenticity. Say no to mediocrity, yes to self-creation. Weaving in more examples. Meet Javier, 35-year-old teacher from the YouTube confessional. Stop being a people pleaser. Raised in a volatile home with shouting matches, Javier learned early that compliance quelled chaos. As an adult, he tutors students, post hours, host barbecues for colleagues, and drive friends across state lines, all while his own novel gathered dust. Burnout hit during the pandemic. Therapy uncovered his fawn response. Now, Javier scripts his nose. I appreciate the ask, but my plate's full. Let's brainstorm alternatives. Liberation. For consider corporate warriors like the men in a Harvard business review study. 60% of male executives admitted to overcommitting due to imposter syndrome, fearing exposure as frauds if they declined. One anonymized case. David, who greenlit every merger memo until a heart scare forced reckoning. His tool, boundary-setting workshops, blending CBT and Stoic reflection. As we peel these layers, patterns emerge. Low self-esteem fuels the fire. Per Adlerian psychology, where inferiority complexes drive overcompensation. Men, socialized to link worth to utility, become human, Swiss Army knives, versatile, but dull from overuse. We've traced the why, attachment scars, trauma echoes, societal scripts, but now, let's dissect the so what. The implications of a man who can't say no ripple far beyond personal fatigue. They erode the foundations of relationships, careers, and society itself. Start with the wreckage. Resentment brews like unspoken poison. Psychologists note that chronic yes-sayers harbor explosive undercurrents, where suppressed needs erupt in passive aggression or sudden withdrawals. For men, this manifests in marriages as emotional distance. The husband who nods through date night vetoes, but seethes silently, leading to a 20% higher divorce risk in people-pleasing dynamics. Partners feel the whiplash. He's always there, but never really present. In friendships, it breeds imbalance. The yes-man becomes the doormat, attracting takers who exploit without reciprocity. Professionally, overcommitment spikes error rates by 15% per organizational psych studies, turning reliable into unreliable. Deeper still, health cascades. Elevated cortisol doesn't just stress, it inflames, correlating with type 2 diabetes and depression in 35% of male people-pleasers. Philosophically, this is existential theft, Sartre's bad faith, living inauthentically to appease the other, forsaking one's freedom. The man who can't say no isn't choosing. He's performing a script written by ghosts. Debates rage here. Is people-pleasing always villainous? Evolutionary side counters. In small tribes, altruism boosted survival cooperation as kin selection. Is the yes man a victim of machismo or its enabler? Both, perhaps trapped in a loop where vulnerability is weakness, but suppression is strength. Cultural angles too. In collectivist societies like Japan, the Han true feelings versus take-made public-face dichotomy pressures men to yes publicly, no privately, leading to karoshi, death by overwork. Now, reflection time. Pause the video. Journal this. When was the last time you said yes out of fear? What need went unmet? How might a single no reshape your week? For Alex, from our story, analysis revealed his yeses as anxious bids for love. His wife's frustration wasn't rejection, but a plea for his real self. Therapy shifted him to prioritized yeses, where boundaries invited deeper intimacy. Debate this. Does Stoic detachment enable selfishness? Aurelius said no. True no serves the greater good by preserving your capacity to give wisely. Yet, postmodern thinkers like Foucault warn boundaries can calcify into isolation. Implications for society. Hey, yes man epidemic fuels inequality. Men overburdened at work subsidize ambition, while women navigate parallel superwoman traps, breaking it. This is an abstract. It's your invitation to audit. Track 1 week. Log yeses. Interrogate motives. Notice the freedom in refusal, not loss, but gain. In Javier's words from that YouTube deep dive, saying no felt like betrayal at first. It's my superpower. What could yours be? We've journeyed from the neural knots of anxious attachment and fawn responses to Stoic swords of self-mastery, unearthing why the man who can't say no is more prisoner than hero. Key takeaways. First, recognize the root childhood conditionals, societal scripts without shame. Awareness is the first no to autopilot. Second, practice the pivot. Start small, script your boundaries, lean on CBT reframes or Aurelius meditations to quiet the fear chorus. Third, embrace the ripple. Your authentic no models vulnerability for sons, equity for partners, efficiency for teams. Share your stories. Let's build a community of boundary bosses. Subscribe for more philosophy psych blends that unpack the human hustle. Slack if this resonated. And remember, saying no to the trivial is the ultimate yes to you. Thanks for watching. Be bold. Be you. See you next time.